Louisville Regionals 2024. Now, going into this season, I was feeling a little bit nervous. Now, in past seasons, I've been able to phone it in, show up to a couple events, play some locals, get an invite, call it a day. It was relatively painless and relatively easy for someone of my caliber. But looking at this season, top 75 was a steep mountain to climb. I knew I was going to have to grind some locals, play these stupid GCs, and also perform at regionals. Now, with this being the first regional I attend, I wanted to start my season off right. I wanted that big, sexy, nice finish so that I would be left stress-free going further into the season. So to get that good, sexy, awesome finish, I was going to need a team. And not only any team, I was going to need a really fire, good, state-of-the-art, top-of-the-meta team that would involve some testing. Now let's talk about the first team I tested going into this event. It may look pretty familiar because it is the one and only Michael Durbesti 6. So I had a mid-season showdown 2-ish weeks before the tournament, and I was like, damn, Raghav, I don't have a team. Can you hook me up? And I was going to use this like silly sand team. I don't even remember what the 6 Pokemon were. I just know it had Garchomp. But then Raghav said, yo, dude, that team's trash. I played this on ladder last night. This dude's number 1. Yoink this shit, use it, get a free dub. So that's what I did. I won my mid-season showdown, or sorry, cup, my bad. With this 6, it's really, really good. And I would say that it built kind of the foundation for what I wanted to use. I really like Dragapult Sneasler. I like the way the team played, but I was a little bit afraid to lock something like this in because I thought that going into the event, this team dominated the European Regional. I was like, damn, these people are going to come prepared, and I don't really want to walk into the landmines that people have set up for this particular team. So instantly I scrapped it, and I said, we need to find something saucier. We need to find something juicy. So naturally, that led us to Ursaluna. So for those who don't know, I have a complicated relationship with Ursaluna. I swore it off. I said I would never use this Pokemon after Worlds in Japan, where I ultimately ate shit. And I did eat shit at another regional. Well, I didn't eat shit. I went 6-3. But after that, I said, you know what? I cannot use the bear anymore. I am cursed. I can't use Ursaluna. I don't know what it is. I don't understand this Pokemon. I suck with Ursaluna. So naturally, I brought it to Nationals last year in New Orleans, where I ate shit once again with my coveted bear. So naturally I started practicing with it, and it was going pretty well. It was easily one of my favorite teams, but unfortunately it struggled with Annihilate, so that was something that I had to write off. But I did think a lot of the concepts were really smart. Tailwind Hydreigon was really cool, especially with this faster Ursaluna. It was a really solid team, but it was just really, really weak to Annihilate, and I didn't want to lose to Annihilate going to the tournament as it just had won the last regional in Europe. So I was like, fuck Ursaluna P2 in the trash. Alright, so the third team here is pretty sick. So this team was actually yoinked on ladder as well. We were just practicing, playing around, and we actually played against this Cryogonal team that ended up showing up at the regional. They got day 2, used by Pyromaniac 720 over here. We stole the idea of the Cryogonal Talonflame Garchomp because we thought it was really good, and we were testing it out, and it was performing incredibly well. We ended up slapping on 3 of the Pokemon that did really well at the regional in Europe as the last 3 slots because we thought they were really sick and would help us with our problems. And it did for the most part. It just struggled a lot versus Size Spam and just kind of Trick Room in general. It just kind of felt like an auto loss. It also really hated Tyranitar. Tyranitar could get really annoying. But it was just really, really okay. It wasn't performing at the levels of a regional winning team that I so desired. I practiced around a lot with the Talonflame team, a lot with the Ursaluna team, kind of back and forth, trying to debate what I really wanted to use. And I was feeling pretty desperate. I was like, you know, at the end of the day, I think this is just the first regional and it's going to go super horribly. And it is what it is, and it just sucks. And so I was talking with Raghav on call, and he was just laddering with some stupid team that I don't even remember or care about. But I remember him queuing into Dondozo, Sneasler, Dragapult, Rillaboom, Volcarona, and Electabuzz. And it was just some random opponent, and I was like, dude, that team looks sick. And he's like, are you serious right now? I was like, what, bro? What do you mean? And he's like, dude, I built that team for you. It's in my channel. Check the Discord. And lo and behold, I scroll up, and it's the exact same 6 with the exact same 6 sets. And I was like, holy shit, dude. That team looks gas. So I was like, you know what? I'm desperate. I loved the Dragapult Sneasler. I really liked that shit early on, and I had a ton of fun using Dragapult Sneasler. I just didn't want to use the 6 most boring Pokemon ever. And this team looked like it had an amazing matchup in the mirror, especially with this Terra Fairy, Terra Blast, Volcarona that was just extremely saucy. So I tested it up. I started playing ladder games, and I just couldn't lose. I literally felt like I had plot armor. This team felt like the best team I've ever used in my entire life. And I knew that this was the one. Like, literally within 3 games, I was like, yeah, this shit is broken. We're ahead of the game. This is the fucking team. So, naturally, I locked that shit in. I locked it in with like a day. I literally just went to bed that night because we were landing at like 2 a.m. I wake up and I'm like, you know what? I'm locking it in. So I had Raghav test some matches with me. I played a ton of games. My friend Ben flew in, so we were just running games with my team, and I just literally couldn't lose. And so I locked that shit in. So let's break this team down. So let's get the easy Pokemon out of the way. Sneasler is pretty boring. This is like probably the most default boring set you could ask for. I went with Poison Touch because that's what Raghav had. I did think about Unburden, and we did talk about Unburden, but ultimately it just seemed like Poison Touch was better. It's really good for Dondozo, really good for Volcarona. It's just kind of good if you get the poison. So I was like, fuck it, Poison Touch. Terra Ghost, so we don't get faked out. That's really it. I kind of considered Stellar, but I was like, dude, I think Ghost is just good because I think Ghost is just absurd in team preview. The threat of something is greater than the use, and sometimes if you just have that Terra Ghost, your opponent might misplay and try to call you dodging their fake out. So it's just a great Terra to have, and sometimes it also does set up automatic win conditions if you do Terra Ghost, so you don't get faked out and you can just clean up a game or lock it up. So I think Terra Ghost is fantastic. Stellar's cool too, but this Sneasler's just boring. I spent already too much time talking about this thing because it's the most boring Pokemon on the team, but it is so good. And it just helps set up and enable everything on the team, whether it's partnering with Dragapult and just putting on offensive pressure, or helping Volcarona set up and sweep in the mid, late game, early game, whatever it takes. Sneasler, fantastic Pokemon. So good. So broken. Dire Claw's awesome. Next up is Dragapult. This was a Pokemon that I actually really, really loved. I mean, this is super boring. This is, max attack, max speed. Well, it's not max attack. It's 4 in each. We watched Michael DeBesti's YouTube video on it, and I got a text from Raghav at like 1 a.m. He said, yo, dude, did you EV train your Dragapult yet? Put 4 in the defenses. Michael DeBesti said it was better. I'm not going to argue with my GOAT, so I slapped that in there. The moveset is really simple. It's going to be Dragon Darts, Phantom Force, U-Turn, Outrage. Just all damage and a little bit of util with that U-Turn. Choice Band to deal magnificent damage. Now, the reason I ran Adamant, I'm going to touch on this a little bit, because I thought Jolly was a pretty good call going into the tournament, but the reason I ran Adamant is because our Volcarona outspeeds Jolly Dragapult. So the idea against the Sneasler Dragapult lead or team is to lead Volcarona Electabuzz, set up with Volcarona, let Electabuzz die, bring in Dragapult, and then spam darts while you Terra Blast the Dragapult slot. So basically it just allows you to always be putting on pressure. And if you kill the Dragapult with Terra Blast, then Sneasler dies to darts. It's really easy. It's super effective. And I never found my Dragapult actually being forced to speed tie other Dragapults. I did do it once in the tournament. I won the speed tie, which was awesome. But yeah, it really didn't come up too much in practice, and I just felt like if we're using logic here, I think Adamant was just better and made sense on the team. Terra Dragon's sick. Does maximum fucking damage. This Pokemon is just really fun to use. I know with the rise of loaded dice Dragonite and shit, this thing is not as good as it once was. But at the tournament, Dragapult was stellar. It was a really awesome just go button. And it was a Pokemon that I relied on a lot. I found myself bringing it a lot throughout my sets. I brought Volcarona and Electabuzz to every game, but Dragapult definitely showed up in every set. I always tried to make it work, and it was just a really good mix-up on this team, especially when they're trying to deal with Volcarona, to just lead Dragapult and just be in this amazing position because they can't cover Volcarona and Dragapult. So Dragapult was really awesome, really great Pokemon. Next up is Dondozo. Super boring Pokemon, nothing too exceptional about it. Dondozo was really, really good in this format and really good in this meta. I think it's a fantastic Pokemon right now. But the way Dondozo works mostly is just a yawn Wave Crash bot. So it does have Fissure. Once again, it's meant to be a threatening move. I didn't expect myself to press it much throughout the tournament. It wasn't something that I relied on or thought about in my game plans too much. Ultimately, in the tournament, I pressed Fissure 9 times. 8 of those were against Pengi or Stefan Mott. So I did play, when I played Pengi, he led Annihilate plus Sinestcha, and basically I needed to hit 1 Fissure because if I killed Annihilate, the game just ended. Or no, it was a Klefki plus Annihilate. And so he had no pressure on Dondozo whatsoever. And in game 1, I don't remember what I did. I think I Dragapult destroyed him. It was really clean, easy game. And then game 2, he led Annihilate plus Klefki, and I turn 1 switch to Dozo. I missed 3 fissures, game loses, whatever. Game 3 comes along, and I end up missing 3 fissures again, but I hit the 4th one, Annihilate goes down, and then I end up having to win on time with Dondozo versus the Teacup. and I won on HP. It was really nuts. Dondozo just hit your fucking fissures, but he did miss 7 of them. But he hit the one important one in game 3 that clutched me the game. And so that was and then I pressed fissure one other time when I just did a desperation fissure against a Ursaluna that missed. So I went, 1 in 9. So it wasn't too bad. It wasn't a great move, but I think it's still necessary for the set because I think it makes a lot of Pokemon instantly drawn to Dondozo, and I think it's really good into Arcoludon and stuff like that. So I think it's still a great move to have, but it just wasn't really. I didn't really need it throughout my run. I didn't play a ton of those rain teams. But yeah, the set is pretty simple. It gets the job done. Unaware is awesome. Yawn is really good into enemy Dondozos. Having Fissure is good into the enemy Dondozos as well. Lefties keeps him around forever. And yeah, the spread is just maximize bulk. I really don't know what it does. Rocket made it. It's just super bulky, and that's all it's supposed to do. It's just supposed to be a bulk monster. Now next up is Rillaboom. Rillaboom is amazing. I love Rillaboom, and it was definitely one of the best Pokemon on my team. It helps enable basically every Pokemon, whether it's making Dondozo bulkier, helping Volcarona set up, or just creating fake out pins with Dragapult. It's just so good. I love Rillaboom. What can I say? He's a monster. The set is really, really simple. It's just a Soul Vest for maximum bulk. The moveset is really boring. I don't have U-turn, I have high horsepower because I think hitting Electabuzz, hitting Argaludon, hitting King Gambit is really, really useful, hitting Magmar. It's just having ground coverage on Rillaboom just makes him fucking better. U-turns, whatever. I don't need to pivot. It's just more about dealing that fucking damage. The spread itself is pretty simple. This is a spread that, like, it's pretty nuts. It's really fast. But it's designed to outspeed Pelipper, like timid Pelipper. So it's just got a lot of attack and then outspeed Pelipper and the rest in bulk. So it really performed throughout the tournament. And yeah, it's just really fast. It's faster than most Rillabooms. And yeah, Rillaboom was awesome. It's really boring Pokemon, but it's so good at what it does. It's kind of like the Sneasler Dragapult. Next up, the star of the fucking show, Volcarona. This Pokemon carried me throughout my run. I brought Volcarona to every single set. Not every game, but every set. It was constantly being brought. I think Electabuzz almost came in every game. But Volcarona was truly the MVP of the entire tournament. This set was disgustingly broken. At the tournament, no one was prepared for Terra Fairy, Terra Blast, Volcarona. So there were just matchups where I was like, oh yeah, you just auto-lose. You can sign the slip right away. We don't even have to play this out. It's over. And that's just how it went for like a lot of the matches, especially early on. People weren't ready for it. I was able to just set up one Quiver Dance and sweep. I never really needed more than one. So it was just like, get up one Quiver Dance with either Fake Out or Follow Me, and then just go from there. Figure it out. And Volcarona just did not disappoint. Fantastic Pokemon. Just, goddamn, dude. I love you, Volcarona. So I actually did consider Life Orb Volcarona because earlier on in the story, I did tell you that I did fight someone with the same team on ladder, and they actually were using Life Orb, but Cover Cloak felt so good. I played like one game with Life Orb, and I got pissed off because I could get faked out, and I said, I'm not doing this. I'm running Cover Cloak. So from then on, Cover Cloak was amazing. It also was just so good into Sneasler. It was just really free to just lead Electabuzz, Volcarona, and I had 2 Pokemon that couldn't be put to sleep or Thunderwaved. I could only get poisoned. So that was amazing. And it basically just allowed Volcarona to be the carry that it needs to be. Blocking fake outs, Heat Wave, Quiver Dance, Terra Blast Protect was awesome. Terra Blast was really fun to use because sometimes you would just Terra Blast as with a normal move because it's just a strong special attack. So I found myself just being like, yeah, I'm not gonna miss Heat Wave. I'm pressing Terra Blast. You're dead. Move on. But yeah, it was awesome. It's like budget Fluttermane, dude. It was so sick to have a fairy type. Like everyone else has that dog shit Primarina, but I've got this premium A1 Volcarona who's Terra Fairy. It is the best fairy type in the game, and being a fairy type is broken in this format when no one has answers to it. So Volcarona was incredible. The spread itself is pretty boring. It's just max speed. The special attack, I believe, KO's Dragapult. That was the goal, and then the rest is bulk. It's just meant to be bulky and strong. And yeah, this Pokemon performed. It was the best Pokemon on my team. I love Volcarona so much. Next up is Electabuzz. Electabuzz, the second. I would say if Volcarona's the MVP, this one's number 2. You know, this guy was fantastic. He did what he needed to. He helped set up everybody. Taunt was incredible. Follow Me. He did damage when he needed to. I think this Pokemon might be one of the best Pokemon in the format. I'm obsessed with Electabuzz, and just playing him felt so good. I don't know. Electabuzz is amazing. I really can't complain about this Pokemon. It was fantastic. It would help set up Volcarona if it needed to. Specifically, that was the big thing it was mainly doing. But it also was just so good at just taunting P2s, switching in on hits, not going to sleep, beating Amoonguss. It just did everything. The spread itself is pretty simple. It's just max bulk. The speed is so that it outspeeds Pelipper, and it's also 1 point slower than my Rillaboom, so that they can check speeds for each other, but also just so that Rillaboom is faster. I don't know why Rillaboom was faster. It was like a last minute thing, because they were speed tying, so Rillaboom's faster. In retrospect, I think Electabuzz should have been faster, because then they know how fast my Rillaboom is, and that's something that's pretty effective in close sheets. But yeah, for the most part, this Buzz did everything I needed to. Just a fantastic Pokemon. I'm really happy with this guy. This guy was amazing. I think he's one of the best Pokemon in the format. What can I say? He's so fucking good. Let's talk about some of the matches. So round 1, I was up against Bobby Rochelle, who I've heard is a pretty good player. Going into, I didn't know who they were whatsoever, but after talking to my friends afterward, they said they were pretty good. And unfortunately, when we played, we had, I think, 3 disconnects to start. Or 2 disconnects. So like we led the same things the first time. Obviously we agreed to not lead the same thing. We can do whatever we want. And then the third time I led Dragapult Sneasler into Scarf Golden Go, which was brutal. I just played really aggressive with my Volcarona, leaving it open when it could have been extreme speeded, netting me the game 1 win. And then in game 2 I got some Dire Claw sleeps, and once again playing aggressive with my Volcarona. It was just like, I think that the set was, if we played later in the tournament, we were more warmed up, I think Bobby could have destroyed me. But because it was round 1, you know, we were warming up, we were just getting back into it. I think it was our first tournament back. That it was definitely one of those, like, I think that Bobby could have smashed me. But because it was so early, I played so confidently, it just kind of worked. So round 1, easy dub, we take those. We go into round 2. I played against a Rain team. In game 1, I actually misclicked Grassy Glide into Arcaludon. But then after that, I said, all right, I can win this. That was silly. That was troll. That was my bad. And I didn't do that again. And I played much better. I swept with Volcarona in the Rain, which is pretty awesome. It's really good into this Arcaludon. And I was able to just clean from there. Round 3, I played against Galar, Weezing, Ursaluna, Covert Cloak, D-Knight. It was such a weird team. It was actually very difficult to deal with. I ended up, I believe I lost. I believe I 2-0'd, but in game 2, I took a very interesting risk on turn 2. I was like, you know what? This Dragonite's slow. My Volcarona's fast. I truly believe that at +1, I'll outspeed the Dragonite and Ursaluna in Tailwind, and I'm going to play like that. And I did outspeed the Dragonite, so it was trying to go for a Ice Spinner read, but unfortunately, I was faster. I KO'd the Dragonite. I lived the EQ with my Volcarona because they led Ursaluna Dragonite, and because of that, I win the game. Now, this is a team that I came prepared for, ready to stomp, and I did just that. It worked according to plan. Volcarona went crazy. This was the team going into this tournament I knew I had to beat. Round 5 was Pengi. I did allude to this earlier when I was talking about Dondozo, but I felt like this matchup was pretty good for me. Game 1, I destroyed, I believe it was a Mouse Ape lead with Dragapult. I just clicked darts or outrage like 10 times. They didn't bring the keys. I just won. And then in games 2 and 3, I tried to hit those fissures. And in game 3, I finally hit the fissure. And then I barely won on time, thanks to my GOAT, Donald Dozo. Next up was Andrew here. This match was hard, honestly. This one was scary. The Dragon Ball Sneasler with the Trick Room mode was nightmarish to like try and prep because I mostly relied on Volcarona to beat the Dragon Ball Sneasler, but Volcarona does jack shit against the other 4. So I needed to kind of call what they were doing, and in game 1 I did just that. I believe I swept with I think it was Dragapult plus Electabuzz or something, or I think I did Volcarona them game 1, and it worked. I sweep, I win. Game 2, they beat me, and then in game 3, they kind of threw a little bit. I'm not going to lie, I probably didn't deserve to win this one, but I was locked in with my Dragapult into Outrage, and I had my Dondozo next to it in Trick Room, and they had Incin Ursaluna, and they go for, with Fake Out Live, and they go for Facade into my Dragapult. I Wave Crash Incin, Outrage kills the Ursaluna because they Terra Dragon at turn 2, and I think if they just, you know, like went for the KO onto Dragapult with Headlong Rush, I think I would have lost. But alas, we take those. I won. Next up was Joey. This matchup was weird because I needed to make sure I could beat the Rain mode and the Trick Room mode. It was an annoying team preview, but Electabuzz just beat kind of both modes. I remember in game 3, there was like a wonky turn 1 where I did a lot of damage to both Incin and Pelly, and they had a Moongus Arcaludon back. and basically I just Dragon Darts from then on out, and they just lost the game. And I just couldn't lose because Dragon Darts, the way it was working and the way it was targeting, they couldn't protect, they couldn't switch because everything was so low. The Pelipper and Instant were both in dart range that I ended up just winning the game from there. Dragon Darts is so good. Dragon Darts is so fucking good. Next up was the set against Riley. That one was actually streamed. That shit was rough, I'm not gonna lie. My brain just like didn't work. It just went completely out the window because I did play basically the same 4 Pokemon that Riley brought versus me. Gavin also brought versus me. So I just played kind of poorly. Riley played like a beast, as is the usual. And I think I just kind of messed up, and I think that I ended up thinking of a better game plan going into day 2. But unfortunately, or I guess fortunately, I didn't have to play Riley again, so it wasn't a huge deal. But yeah, Riley's team was sick, and Riley did kind of throttle me. Riley's a great player. So that ends day 1. I was 7-1, which meant that as long as I won 2 more sets going into day 2, I would secure myself a spot in that top cut, which was the dream, which is the goal. So I got a good night's rest, very sleepy. I actually talked some game plans over with Ben. I did a lot of prep and a lot of thinking going into day 2. I made sure to spend some time actually preparing, because sometimes I don't do that. And this time I really wanted to I wanted to go deep, so I just spent the time looking at the teams, just theorying matchups and just kind of talking it out loud, just so that I had some sort of plan when I woke up the next morning. So my first round opponent, day 2, is of course Austin Swecker, which is actually another Wisconsin player, which is actually pretty lit. But they had a pretty scary team. I was actually really horrified of getting like frozen or getting snow globed on, because like I think that if I miss 1 or 2, like it's not that they even need a ton of luck, it's just more like if 1 or 2 don't go my way, it gets really scary. I was also really afraid of Skeledirge because it does body the fuck out of Volcarona, but I was pretty sure that the composition of Volcarona and Dondozo would be able to beat almost anything my opponent could cook for me. And it was more that I was afraid of all 6 Pokemon, but like my opponent couldn't bring 6, so I just relied on Volcarona Electabuzz with Dondozo in the back to kind of clutch it up, and it did. I would leave the Skeledirge alone, and if they didn't tear it, Dondozo one-shot it, and Volcarona just kind of destroys everything else on the team. So it worked out. I just needed to leave Skeledirge alone and then just checkmate with Dondozo. It was much scarier in team preview than it was when I actually played out the set. Just because Dondozo was so fucking good, dude. Dondozo's so good in this matchup, and Dondozo clutched out. Ooh, the next one was a doozy. I saw James Beck, and honestly, I don't know what the record between James and I is, but I feel like it's in his favor. I did beat him most recently at Nationals in 2023, which I felt good about, but James is incredible. He's a really good player. He's a 3rd in the world, 2-time 3rd in the world, back-to-back. Absolutely insane. I'm only a 1-time 3rd in the world, so he kind of has me beat there. But he was using the team that I knew and that I have a ton of practice against. So going into it, it was pretty scary. Game 1, I leveraged Volk. I did really well. He tried to ape me, but unfortunately Volcarona was better. Game 2, this one's funny, this one's good. He leads Hydreigon wins. Oh, I led Volcarona Electabuzz into the Whimsicott Hydreigon, and he just turn 1, sunny days, heat waves me, and I just fucking lose. Like, I literally can't do anything. He just destroys me. Turn 1. I was like, okay, that was fucking annoying. Game 3 was pretty fun. I actually am really proud of how I played this one. He led Hydreigon, or no, he led Garchomp plus Whimsicott this time, and I led Sneasler Volcarona. And Whimsicott turn 1 goes for the Terra Ghost, and I Terra Fairy Terra Blast Garchomp, because all I need to do is remove Garchomp, and then I'm pretty sure that Rillaboom Dozo can just clean up the game. So basically on turn 1, he goes for Stomping Tantrum and Moonblast, and I do enough damage with Volcarona that is enough it's basically in range of Glide for the rest of the game. He doesn't have access to Terra, that I'm able to just win with Rillaboom, Dozo, Sneasler. And it just worked out. I didn't lose a Pokemon turn 1. I think he split attacks. So it was just like really, really good for me. I didn't lose a Pokemon, and then I just literally turn 2. I remember he was in Life Orb range. I switch in Dondozo, and he dies to his own Life Orb. And then I just leverage my Rillaboom and Dozo to win the game. It was really sick. I was really happy with how it all played out because I didn't bring Dozo up to that point, and Dozo just ended up clutching it for me. Now the next round is Carson Comfort. Whew, this guy was undefeated, so at this point I knew that I was going to make day 2 and not only or top cut, but not only that, I was also going to receive a bye, which was really huge because that meant I'm automatically in top 16. And my goal for this tournament was top 8 or bust. That was simply it. If I got top 8, I get mad fucking points because the difference in points between top 8 and top 16 is incredible. Tons of fucking points that you lose out on. So when I saw that, I was like, I need top 8, and I need to get that bye, and I need to get to top 8. So I played Carson. I think we were both. I don't know if Carson was sandbagging, but I was kind of sandbagging because there's no point in showing any strategies because I might play Carson earlier. He's literally undefeated at this point, so like I ain't gonna show too much. I did want to check some speeds. I wanted to see how fast Electabuzz was versus Dragonite. I was trying to a degree, but I was just doing the same 4 Pokemon over and over, and I didn't want to like reveal too much, and I just kind of wanted to see how he'd approach the matchup. It was kind of hard, honestly. Like Carson's Annihilate Dragonite thing, little combo there with the coaching was very difficult. And so yeah, I kind of got destroyed, and I think that if we did have to play, it would have been weird because I was considering not bringing my own Dozo to beat his Dozo, but if he brought Dozo, then I would auto lose. It was a really big mind game, and I think that if we had played further, that would have been what the mind game was whether or not we bring the Dozo, each of us. But it was pretty cool to play Carson undefeated with Dozo. We were at table 1, we both had Dozo. It was sick. So then I get a bye. I'm chilling, I'm relaxing, I'm nervous at this point, I'm stressed, right? But I know that if I win one more game, I get those sweet, sweet points. And so I really feel confident to actually win my 3rd regional. And that was my goal here. We're like, I wanted top 8 first, but ultimately I wanted to win. I want to win these tournaments. So I roll up into top 16, and you know, I'm sitting there chilling, watching the matches, and I'm trying to like kind of peek over to see which opponent I'm going to play. Am I going to play Lewis Milch, or am I going to play his opponent? And ultimately ended up being Lewis. They go by Uncle Lou online. This is a player I've played back in 2018 Worlds Open. It wasn't even at the tournament. It was like at the regional they ran after the World Tournament that we just played in top 8, and he actually destroyed me there. So I was a little nervous. This guy hasn't played in like, I think it was like 3 years, but I have respect for him. I think he's a great player. He got second at a regional back in 2019. I think Uncle Lou's a pretty good player. So I was a little nervous, and looking at the team, I was really scared. I really didn't know how I was going to approach the Como. I knew I was going to have to rely on my Volcarona, but I thought it was going to be kind of hard because I wouldn't be able to get rid of Sneasler as easy as I wanted to with my Dragapult plan. So I was going to have to rely on like Rillaboom or Sneasler to kill their Sneasler, which was going to be hard. And I would have to make sure I'm careful with my Terra on the Volcarona. So in game 1, I came up with the plan. I knew, for some reason, I knew he was going to lead Volcarona plus Como. And so I was like, okay, that's fine. That is a free fake out. Like Sneasler Volcarona lead looked like the best option into the team. It looked amazing. Because of my Covert Cloak, I knew I could get up a boost before he could. And that was my whole plan, was to boost. So I lead that. It actually works out perfectly because I kind of forgot, when I was steering the matchup and when I was getting ready to prep this one, I forgot that Como has to take damage to set up, and Volcarona doesn't. So I fake it out turn 1, I get my free Quiver Dance, and on turn 2, I actually do like decent damage with Heat Wave, that it's enough where I'm like, oh, this is actually fine, that it might actually die to like another Heat Wave or something. So it just took too much damage. Volcarona just swept game 1 like really, really hardcore. So I'm up again. I'm feeling fucking good. And so I'm like, you know what he's gonna do? I think he's gonna try to fake out Speed type beat me, right? So I lead Volcarona Sneasler again. I felt confident, and he leads Sneasler Como. And I'm like, ah, shit, here we go, right? And I can't Terra my Sneasler because otherwise I'm gonna lose. I need to be Terra Fairy on my Volcarona potentially in the future. So I go for Fake Out onto his Como, I go for Quiver Dance. My Fake Out goes first, and he does try to Fake Out my Sneasler. I won the speed tie, and after that, it's just kind of cooked. There's not much he can do. I think the matchup was just really good, and even afterward, he was like, yeah, dude, Terra Fairy Volk was not something I was prepared for. It was sick. It was just exactly how I planned, and it worked out really well. I think had I not won the speed tie, it would have been obviously much closer, but I do feel like I was in a pretty good spot. It would have come down to another speed tie. Yeah, I felt pretty good about my my odds even if then, but yeah, obviously like the game just kind of instantly ends right there because I get a dance, he doesn't, and then on turn 2 I can just Heat Wave Dire Claw. I don't even have to commit my Terra, and I just take the game pretty cleanly from there. So yeah, with that, I'm in top 8 of the regional. I'm feeling really good. I'm really nervous about this Parker Simmons guy though, because low-key, this Executor team is scary. Zora creates a lot of mind games. The Executor is really brutal for my Polt, which does look like it auto beats the team, but without the Polt, with the Executor, it really throws a wrench in everything. And so, yeah, I was really afraid of this team. I also don't love my side spam matchup. one of the only teams I did lose to in practice was Spam. So I was like, God fucking damn it, right? But if I can get through this one, my next matchup looks good. Play Andrew Zhang or Wolf. And I felt pretty decent about my Ursaluna matchup, especially with my Volcarona and how I was playing throughout the tournament. I dispatched a lot of the Ursalunas I already played. So I was like, you know what? I think I could do this. And I also really wanted to play Wolf top 4 regional. I thought that would have been sick. So yeah, I really wanted to win. I really, really wanted to win. So I sit down versus Parker. He's all suited up. He's got his Executor team, a Zorg. And game 1 goes a little rough. This is where he does lead Zorg versus me. It just doesn't go really to plan. So I didn't understand. I wasn't thinking when I was making my game plan. I didn't get punished for this. But when I was thinking, I wasn't thinking about having to deal with Sun plus Side Spam at the same time. I thought, oh, he leads Executor whatever, and I wasn't thinking that he just switches in and then he gets terrain control and sun control. So I couldn't actually wrench the terrain control back, which means I had to take an expanding forest. So in game 1, I actually was super vulnerable to Executor. I led Dragapult plus Electabuzz into Zoroark plus Torkoal. Obviously it was an Executor, so I didn't know what it was. I was afraid. But I do just go for a U-turn turn 1, and I actually did hit the Zoroark. But basically, I took a ton of damage, and he set himself up into a spot where he set up Trick Room. I couldn't really recover, and I ended up losing. But then after that, I was like, okay, I have to respect Executor. I understand how the mechanic works. I don't know why it just slipped my mind. I genuinely don't know why. I think I just wasn't thinking clearly. But going into game 2, I wasn't going to let that. It actually didn't punish me at all, by the way. I'm just saying this out of pure humbleness that I just fucked up. But in game 2, I did come up with a lead that I felt pretty confident in, which was Sneasel Electabuzz, because it would allow me to instantly live the Executor side. Like, I would live with both Pokemon, which is the big thing here. So I led those two. Turn 1, I go for Dire Claw T-Bolt into Executor, and it goes for Trick Room, and he switches to Indeedee or something. And so turn 1, I just win, basically. I end up getting a Dire Claw sleep on Indeedee. And so then from then on, I clutched it out. I took that game. The sleep was epic. It was nice. And going to game 3, I was nervous. I was scared. And I went with the same lead because it was kind of my only option into this. I think I needed more games versus it. Props to my opponent for coming up with Executor. I think that without the Executor, this would have been much more straightforward, much more easy of a dub. But the Executor really just was fucking with me, dude. It was in my head. I see him everywhere I go. I see him in this goddamn trading card game. I see him everywhere I go. I think of this stupid Executor. It literally haunts me. Because in this final game, it went okay. I ended up getting a sleep on Indeedee, but there was a turn where I ended up locking into Outrage in the mid game that I just kind of messed up. I probably should have dartsed. I don't know, dude. I don't know why I outraged. It was a big misplay. Outrage didn't hit the targets I needed to, and I deserved to lose. I messed up. Executor fucked me, and I deserved to lose. But I was really, really sad. I was really disappointed. I said GG's. I walked away. And I just needed to walk it off. I just needed a breather because I genuinely think my team was the best team in the tournament. This team was incredible. I felt like all of my opponents, bar a few, couldn't deal with this team. And it felt like I had the regional winning team. And I felt like I let it down. And I always hate losing to Side Spam. It feels shitty. But yeah, I still feel like this team is incredible. I love it. It was just so good. It was so fun to use. I'll put the rental code down below for you guys to use. Shoutouts to Rago for helping with the team, creating this beautiful masterpiece of a team that barely was tested, and we played probably 3 days of Pokemon with. Like literally before the tournament, I told my friends, I told basically anyone who listened to me, I told my girlfriend, I told everyone at the not everyone at the tournament, all the friends who were with me at the tournament. I said, dude, I think that this team can win the tournament, but I don't know if I can win the tournament. And I was actually talking to my good friend Blake Bopper. He's an amazing Pokemon Go player, got 12th at Worlds, and he was like, dude, you can't think like that. You can win the tournament, and you have to think that you can win. You have the team, now you just need to step up, and you can do that. And it really, I think it really did hype me up, and it really helped me have the confidence I needed to. So, but yeah, shoutouts to Blake, shoutouts to Ben, shoutouts to Rago for helping with the team, and shoutouts to my girlfriend, for Allie, for supporting me throughout the entire tournament. It was a really great run. I'm really happy to have the start to the season. I'm really disappointed I couldn't get the medal or win the whole tournament because I actually genuinely felt like I could do it. But, you know, here's Toronto, here's the next one. But thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed my little war story and breakdown of my team. I think this team is awesome. I think you guys should give it a try. I think it's a little worse now. The meta has not necessarily adapted favorably towards it, but overall I think this team is incredible and just a really fun time. And I'm really proud of my finish and what me and the boys were able to accomplish. So thank you guys for watching. Hope to see you guys next time.